Your life won't change until your mornings do, because how you start the day quietly shapes everything that follows. There's one thing that flips the switch, and until you do it every morning, nothing you try will hold, because the foundation isn't there. But the moment you make this shift, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your mind clears, and your momentum finally sticks. So let's talk about what that one thing is and why your future depends on it. You're starting the day already losing, you wake up and you've already lost. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't have dreams, but because you've given your mornings away without even noticing. You open your eyes, and almost instantly, your mind starts spinning. Messages, notifications, headlines, responsibilities. The world rushes in before your brain is even fully awake, and just like that, your attention is gone. You think you're just checking your phone for a minute. You think you're just easing into the day, but what you're really doing is handing over control, not just of your morning, but of your focus, your clarity, your momentum. The very energy you need to build your future is being leaked out in the first 10 minutes, and it feels normal. That's the trap. You wake up tired, grab your phone, scroll through other people's lives, reply to what's urgent, react to what's loud, and you think that's just how mornings work. But deep down, you know something's off. You feel it every time you start the day with good intentions, but end it wondering where the time went. You feel it when your to-do list grows faster than your progress. You feel it when you're busy all day, but can't point to what actually moved forward. That's not time management, that's distraction management. And most people stay stuck there, forever trapped in a loop that feels productive, but never actually moves the needle. You're not exhausted because you're doing too much. You're exhausted because you're doing too much of the wrong thing too early. You've been waking up straight into chaos. You've been stepping into your day without ever choosing your direction. You're chasing hours that never feel like they belong to you. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't need to change your whole life to change your mornings. You don't need a 5-step routine or a perfect plan. You just need to win the first 10 minutes. That's it. Because those 10 minutes decide everything. They decide whether your brain starts calm or scattered. They decide whether your choices feel intentional or rushed. They decide whether you move through the day with clarity or just react to whatever's screaming loudest. And here's the scariest part. Once those minutes are gone, they're gone. You don't get them back. No amount of hustle can undo a distracted start. That's why most people burn out even while working hard. They're pouring effort into a day that was never theirs to begin with. And no one talks about this. No one tells you that your success doesn't start with big goals or big moves. It starts with protecting the first few moments of your day like your life depends on it, because it does. That's the moment when your brain is most vulnerable, most programmable, and most open to influence. That's when your mindset is being written, whether you know it or not. If you keep handing that window over to chaos, you'll keep getting chaos in return. But if you take it back, if you claim just 10 minutes every morning before the world gets a say, you'll start to see everything shift. Not overnight, but fast, because progress doesn't come from adding more to your plate. It comes from subtracting what steals your focus before it ever has a chance to build. And it all starts with one change, one decision, one thing you do every morning before anything else. It's simple, it's quiet, but it changes everything. And once you commit to it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Let's talk about what that one thing actually is and how it rewires everything from the inside out. The one thing that rewires your morning. So here it is, the one thing that changes everything. The thing that looks so small, so quiet, you'll be tempted to brush it off. But I promise you, until you do this one thing every morning, nothing else will truly stick. No system, no routine, no productivity hack will save you if you don't start here. And it's this: before the world has a chance to get to you, before your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, you sit in silence and ask yourself one question: what actually matters today? That's it. Not 5 things, not a list, just one. One thing that, if you moved it forward, would make everything else feel lighter. One thing that, if you faced it, would stop the spinning. One thing that matters not to your boss, not to your inbox, but to you. And this moment, this single question, it becomes your anchor. The starting line your day was missing. But here's why most people never do it: because it feels too simple. It doesn't look like work. There's no applause for it, no urgency, just you and your thoughts in a quiet room. And in a world addicted to noise, stillness feels uncomfortable. It feels like you're wasting time, like you should be doing something. But what you're really doing is rewiring your brain. You're breaking the habit of reactivity. You're stepping out of autopilot. You're taking your mind back before the world has a chance to take it from you. Because that's what happens when you skip this step. You don't just lose time, you lose yourself. Your attention gets hijacked. Your energy gets scattered. You spend the whole day putting out fires, answering questions, jumping from one distraction to the next. And by the time the day ends, you're drained, but you don't feel accomplished. You feel scattered, stretched thin, pulled in too many directions, and none of them your own. But when you sit with that one question, what matters most today, you realign. You go from scattered to centered, from busy to intentional. And that shift, that alignment is where everything changes, because now you're not trying to do everything. You're not waking up into 100 priorities. You're waking up into one mission, one outcome, one decision that actually matters. And when you do that every morning, when you give yourself that moment of clarity, you stop living by default. You start living by design. Your energy becomes focused. Your time becomes deliberate. And instead of reacting to the day, you start shaping it. You'll notice it almost immediately. Your work gets sharper. Your mind feels calmer. The fog starts to lift. You start moving with direction, not just speed. And it's not because you're doing more, it's because you finally know what to ignore. You're no longer pulled in 10 directions. You've chosen one. And the impact of that choice, it multiplies. One intentional day becomes 2, then 3, then a week, then a month. And over time, that one habit becomes your edge. It becomes the thing that separates you from everyone still running in circles, still confusing motion with progress, still waking up without purpose. But here's the part that's easy to miss even when you know what matters, even when you feel the power of this shift. It won't last unless you protect it, because clarity without protection gets crushed. It disappears under the weight of other people's urgency. It gets drowned out by noise, by notifications, by pressure, by distraction. The truth is, the world doesn't care about your moment of clarity. It's not going to pause for you. It's not going to hold space for your silence. That's your job. And if you don't guard it, you'll lose it. Every time. That's why most people never stick with this habit. They try it once or twice, maybe for a week, and then life starts rushing in again. The phone buzzes, the kids wake up early, the emails start piling up, and suddenly that quiet space, the one thing that gave you real power, gets pushed aside like it never mattered. So if you want this to work, you need more than intention. You need protection. You need to build a wall around that moment and say, this is mine. Nothing touches this. Because if you don't claim the space, the world will claim it for you. And that's exactly what we're going to do next. The wall you need to build. So you've made the shift. You've carved out that moment of stillness. You've asked yourself what actually matters today. And for the first time in a long time, you felt it clarity. You weren't reacting. You weren't scrambling. You were leading. That moment changed something inside you. But now comes the real test. Can you protect it? Because clarity is fragile. It's not something you unlock once and then keep forever. It's something you have to guard daily. The second you find it, the world will try to take it back. It doesn't do it loudly. It does it subtly, quietly. That one ping from your phone, that one quick scroll through your messages, that one thought, let me just check before I start. That's the moment it slips away. And the scariest part, you won't even notice it happening. But suddenly, that sharp focus you had a minute ago is gone. You're not building anymore. You're reacting. You're not creating your day. You're just responding to it. And this is the mistake most people make. They think the habit is enough. They think that just knowing what matters is all they need. But it's not, because if you don't defend it, it dies. Without protection, your most powerful morning habit becomes just another task that gets swallowed by the chaos. You don't lose your focus at noon. You lose it before your day even starts. 5 minutes after waking up, when your mind is still soft, still impressionable, and the first thing it gets hit with is noise. So what do? You build a wall, not a physical wall, but a mental one, a boundary that nothing breaks. You make the decision that this time, this space, this morning ritual is non-negotiable. It's not optional. It's not something you do when it's convenient. It's who you are now. You decide that this is the first thing that happens every single morning, no matter what, and you don't break that promise to yourself. Start with consistency. That's the first layer of the wall. Same time, same place, same trigger. You train your brain to expect this ritual. When you do the same thing at the same time every day, your body stops resisting it. It becomes automatic. You stop thinking about whether you should do it. You just do it. Your mind begins to understand. This is thinking time. This is clarity time. This is where I decide what matters. That repetition becomes power. That consistency becomes protection. Then comes the second layer, simplicity. Strip away everything that doesn't belong. One seat, one pen, one page, no tabs, no distractions, nothing within reach that can pull you away. Because here's the truth. Your environment is either pulling you toward clarity or away from it. If your space is cluttered, your thoughts will be too. If your phone is near you, you will touch it. So remove the triggers, make the space boring, make it sacred. Let your mind know, without question, that this is not a place for noise, it's a place for direction. And finally, you need the third layer: boundaries. This is where most people fail. They build the habit, they even protect the space, but they don't communicate the boundary. They don't tell their spouse, their kids, their coworkers, their team, this time is off limits. So interruptions slip in through the cracks. The people around you don't know that this time matters to you because you haven't shown them. But when you speak it, when you own it, when you say, from 6 to 7, I am unavailable. This is non-negotiable. Everything starts to change. People respect the boundary when they see you do it first. This wall isn't rigid. It's not cold. It's powerful because it tells your brain, your body, your world, I take this seriously. I'm not hoping for clarity. I'm claiming it. And once that wall is in place, once those 3 layers are locked, consistency, simplicity, and boundaries, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the peace that comes from having no problems, but the peace that comes from knowing you're finally protecting your priorities. You'll notice the noise starts to fade. The urgency begins to lose its grip. You won't feel pulled in 10 directions the moment you wake up. Instead, you'll sit down, settle in, and move with force because you've created the space for it. You've made the hard decision most people never do, to protect your focus before the world even has a chance to test it. And once you do that, everything gets sharper. The mind fog lifts. The panic disappears. You stop running and start moving. Not fast, but forward. Not scattered, but aimed. And that's where we go next. Aim first, then fire. You've done what most people never even consider. You've created space in your morning. You've shut out the noise. You've built the wall that keeps the distractions out. Now you're sitting there, clear, calm, focused. But there's one more piece that makes this morning habit come alive. You need to aim. Because stillness without direction is just a pause. It might feel good in the moment. You might even feel proud for showing up. But if you don't aim, if you don't point your focus somewhere specific, then you've created space only to leave it empty. And here's the truth no one likes to hear. A quiet mind is a powerful thing, but an aimless mind is a dangerous one. This is where a lot of people stall. They do the routine. They show up early. They light the candle. They sit with the journal. They meditate, but they never decide. They don't choose what matters. They don't define the target. They don't aim. And because of that, they drift. They fall back into busy work. They confuse movement with progress. And when the day ends, they're tired, but still stuck. So what does aiming look like? It looks like asking yourself one simple question every single morning. What's the one thing I need to move forward today? Not 10 things, not the entire to-do list, just one. One thing that matters more than the rest. One thing that, if you focused all your best energy on it, would actually push your life forward. It could be a decision you've been putting off. It could be a conversation you've been avoiding. It could be a task that doesn't feel urgent, but would change everything if it was finished. You already know what it is. You've just been too distracted to admit it. So now inside your protected morning space, you ask the question, you name it, and then you write it down. Not on your phone, not in your head. You put it where you can see it. One sentence, one mission, one direction, and something starts to happen. You stop opening your laptop and asking, where do I start? You stop flipping between tabs, hoping for inspiration. You stop looking for something to react to, because now you've already chosen what matters. You've already aimed. And once you do that, the rest of your day shifts. You don't need to fight for motivation. You don't need to guess what's next. Your brain stops spinning, your body stops stalling. You know where the arrow is pointed, and all that's left is to pull back and release. This is how you make your mornings matter. This is how you stop being ruled by your inbox, by meetings, by noise. This is how you start designing your time instead of being dragged through it. But aiming requires courage, because to aim is to commit. And to commit means letting go of the lie that you can do it all at once. When you aim at one thing, you have to ignore the other 9. You have to say no to distraction, no to fake urgency, no to the things that scream the loudest but matter the least. That's what makes this habit hard. Not the silence, not the sitting still, but the decision. Because the moment you choose one direction, you start living with intention. And that kind of clarity is rare. Most people never feel it. Most people never choose. They bounce from task to task, solving problems that were never theirs, stuck in a loop of endless effort with no momentum. But you're not doing that anymore. You're not reacting to the day. You're commanding it. Because when you wake up and aim before you act, you unlock something most people never experience: focused energy with real direction. You stop being busy, you start being effective, and your life starts to move. But even with clarity, even with that target locked in, the habit will die if you don't make it automatic, because you won't always feel motivated. You won't always wake up ready. There will be mornings when your brain fights you, when everything in your life pulls you back toward comfort. toward noise, toward distraction. That's why the next step is critical, because a habit that relies on motivation will never last. But a habit that runs on identity, that's unstoppable. Let's talk about how to lock this in so deep that it becomes part of who you are, even when you don't feel like it. Make it automatic, or it won't last. You've come this far. You've created space in your morning, built the wall, and pointed your focus at what actually matters. You've done more than most people ever will, but if this is where you stop, you'll lose it. Not because you don't care, not because it doesn't work, but because without automation, even the most powerful habit eventually fades. The truth is, motivation is a liar. It shows up late and leaves early. Some mornings you'll wake up ready to go, locked in, focused, but some mornings you won't. You'll feel tired, you'll feel behind, you'll feel like skipping. And if this morning habit only survives on motivation, it won't last. It'll disappear the moment life gets inconvenient. That's why the real goal isn't just doing the habit. It's becoming the kind of person who doesn't have to think about it, the kind of person who just does it automatically, without friction, without resistance. That's when it sticks. That's when it lasts. That's when it becomes part of who you are. So how do you get there? You start by creating a trigger, something so consistent your brain doesn't have to ask what's next. It could be the same chair, the same cup of coffee, the same pen, the same time. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it signals the same thing every day. Now is the time. When you create a cue your brain recognizes, it stops negotiating. It simply moves into the routine, no questions asked. Next, you keep it stupid simple. This is where most people get it wrong. They overcomplicate the ritual. They add 10 steps, 10 tools, 10 intentions, and end up doing none of them. But this habit only works if your brain can do it on autopilot. One space, one notebook, one question. You make the entry point so easy, so frictionless, that there's no excuse to skip it. Simplicity isn't laziness, it's leverage. Then you reinforce it with identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to do this. You start saying, this is just what I do. You don't argue with it. You don't overthink it. You don't reward yourself for showing up. You just show up because it's who you are now, not a new you, not a different you, the real you, the one who was buried under distraction and finally clawed their way back to the surface. And the more you repeat it, the more natural it becomes. You'll notice the resistance starts to fade. You won't need to fight your brain to focus. You won't need to hype yourself up to sit down. You'll just wake up, walk over, and begin. The same way you brush your teeth, the same way you tie your shoes. No drama, no buildup, just identity in motion. And that's when you'll feel the shift. When everyone else is waking up into panic, you're already ahead. When they're scrambling for clarity, you've already chosen your direction. While they waste energy deciding what matters, you're already halfway through your most important task of the day. That's what this morning ritual does. It gives you back control. Not control over everything, but control over the one thing that changes everything. Your focus. And when you control your focus, you control your time. And when you control your time, you control your life. But that only happens if you make it automatic. Not by force, not by guilt, but by repetition. Quiet, consistent, boring repetition. Because that's where real transformation lives, not in the hype, but in the habit, not in the spark, but in the system. You don't need to feel inspired. You just need to show up over and over, day after day, until it's not something you think about, it's just something you do. And once you reach that point, once this habit becomes your default setting, something deeper starts to unlock. Because now you're not just doing the morning habit, you are the morning habit. It's not a part of your routine, it's a part of your identity. And that identity, that's what unlocks everything else. That's what makes your decisions cleaner, your mind sharper, your direction stronger. And that's where we're going next. Because when this stops being something you try and starts being who you are, everything begins to accelerate. When it stops being a habit and starts being who you are, there comes a moment when everything shifts. You stop reminding yourself to do it. You stop forcing discipline. You stop needing motivation or tracking streaks or wondering if it's working. You just do it quietly, automatically, without question, because it's no longer something you're trying to practice. It's something you've become. That one thing you've been doing every morning, protecting your space, asking what matters, aiming your energy, it no longer feels like a task. It feels like your foundation. It feels like who you are when the noise disappears and your real self steps forward. It's not a ritual anymore. It's a reflection, a mirror of your new identity. You don't show up because someone told you to. You show up because not showing up would feel like losing a piece of yourself. And when that happens, everything starts to accelerate. You no longer spend the first hour of your day trying to find direction because you wake up already knowing what matters. You don't start with confusion or hesitation. You start with clarity. You move with confidence. You begin your day as the person you've been trying to become, fully present, fully engaged, and fully in command of your time. People around you will notice something different. They may not know what changed, but they'll feel it in the way you speak, in the way you listen, in the way you choose what to focus on and what to ignore. You'll carry a calm intensity that's hard to describe, but impossible to miss. It won't come from noise or ego. It'll come from alignment built slowly, quietly, every morning, because you're no longer reacting to life. You're building it. You're not scrambling for progress. You're moving in straight lines. While most people are still waking up into chaos, you're already 3 steps ahead, clear, grounded, locked in. And it all comes back to one thing, not a massive change, not some dramatic breakthrough. Just one thing you did every morning before anyone else had a chance to influence you. Just one choice that rewired your focus, shaped your identity, and gave your goals a real foundation to stand on. This is what real transformation looks like. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in your consistency, in your energy, in your results. It becomes obvious to others only after it's become automatic to you. And when that moment comes, when it's no longer something you have to do, but something you can't not do, you'll understand why everything felt so stuck before. You'll realize it was never a time problem, never a discipline problem. It was always a clarity problem. And now you have it. You're not chasing results anymore. You're shaping them. You're not waiting for permission. You're giving yourself direction, and you're not hoping for change. You're becoming I-tone morning at a time. And that's the truth most people miss. Your life won't change because of some big breakthrough or overnight shift. It'll change the moment you stop handing your mornings to distraction and start building them with intention. It'll change when this one thing becomes non-negotiable. It'll change when this morning habit stops being something you try and starts being who you are. Because now you've seen the truth, you've lived the shift, and you know deep in your core that everything changes the moment you reclaim your morning. Your life won't change until your mornings do, and now they do.